Whoops. Almost continued with a muted mic. That would have been bad. But yeah, so what I was saying is we don't normally go live on Wednesdays here on YouTube, but we are going live, obviously, and we'll see what happens, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to trust it. But yeah, today, obviously we're gonna do our live call in terms of trading. Second live call of the day, or of the week. Normally this happens on Tuesday, but this week the news was a little interesting. So we decided not to go live here on YouTube because the news was so far away. And it was a day after a holiday. So the day before, day after a holiday, generally we look at it as low probability. But those of you that are in my private group, those of you that are in my Discord, my free Discord, saw that yesterday we captured a pretty insane move. Really nice move. Live, in a live account. Multiple students that were live with me in my private group did the same thing. So hundreds of handles was captured yesterday by multiple students, including myself as the mentor, right? So yesterday was picture perfect. Speedy London decline to New York session reversal for the indices. So off the heels of that, we have the Empire State Manufacturing at 5:30. It's going to come in 9 minutes. So, we'll see what impact that's going to have. I don't necessarily believe it's going to be too dramatic. Of course, we'll see kind of what happens. Yeah, we're coming off of a really good day yesterday, so we're going to take it easy. But yeah, I think we will be able to find something. We always find something. So be ready. Let me actually go check something real quick. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. There's a slight lag, so just keep that in mind. 10 seconds. So yeah, don't ignore that. Yeah, I'm just checking some stuff real quick. All right, so yeah, we just talked about the news. There's something coming at 5:30 in 6 minutes. So before we look at that or worry about that, right? We got these equal lows here secured. I talked about this last week. I talked about this Sunday. So we've basically taken out the quarterly low I was aiming at. So my weekly target has been met. So we got this down wick. We have this inversion for value gap. We are inside of a quarterly bullish order block, so we want to make sure we're keeping tabs on that. This is equilibrium down here of the quarterly range that we're trading within, which is 3 months, right? And we look like it's a mess, right? It's back and forth. It is gravitating lower. We're gonna have to see how we respect this, all right? And then, of course, we have the 50% level of this quarterly order block. But it's going to be very, very important to see what that does. We could see this order block here. We're already kind of closing below it. So we got to see, is down candles going to stop supporting price? Are we going to continue to blow through fair value gaps that should be holding as bullish PD arrays, okay? And is that going to result in us going lower? If this goes lower, DXY should go lower because this is positively correlated with the DXY. The bonds do the opposite, right? If the yields are going lower, these should go higher, and we should see the indices and foreign currencies go higher, right? If that's what takes place. We are inside of a quadrant level here. What is that quadrant level? I believe it's a wick, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a monthly wick. Or wait a minute. Two-week? Yeah. 2 week. Okay. All in all, right, we are inside of that quadrant, so we'll see. Down candles are supporting price, so up until this point, right, we're going to continue to keep going higher. Monthly bullish order block. We can remove that, kind of clean things up. All right, so then we got the news coming. Did it just come out? Okay, we got 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So yeah, if we see this, respect this. We got the wick here, so quadrants on that wick are going to be important. Let me actually. Going to. And of course, this is important, right? This levels, or these levels on this asset and what this does, it's important, right? 50%, if we could stay above that 50%, it'll keep going higher. If this keeps going higher, the indices should continue to go higher, right? Or they should turn and go higher if they were going lower. DXY is dropping down to a suspension block, 50% of that. If it breaks through it, it'll turn to an inversion. We do got relative equal highs up here. Order flow for the DXY has somewhat been bullish. On the daily, it's definitely bullish. On the weekly, we're kind of just in a range from this low to that high. So we'll see how it wants to respect this. If we do get displacement lower that violates the 50% of this, right, this high to that low, this should act as a BPR. So if it breaks through that, inverts fair value gaps, inverts this and uses it as resistance, starts respecting the order blocks, then we'll continue to drop. For now, I think this looks like we're sweeping out lows. We are inside of a range, kind of, right? So we're going to see how it's going to print going into this news event. And yeah, we'll kind of see what happens here. That's with the DXY bonds and yields. We got this looking like it's kind of turning here. If we look at the lows, we do got relative equal lows down here. Got to keep that in mind because it's so obvious. But we are still inside this daily order block, or a weekly order block. Okay, and then we're also inside this one too. So if price comes up into this level and it respects this bearish order block and then violates this one, we may see these levels get taken out, right? We are inside of a bullish breaker, so it's kind of holding there. And again, we are inside of a sideways market for currencies, so we do have SMT as well, right? Bearish. So we'll continue to keep that on our radar and see how things turn out. Displacement above this high will then set the stage for us to take these out. Respect to this, right? We also have a breaker, but these up candles is an order block. Okay, like right here. So we'll see if it can respect that and displace. If it does, then again, easy target is down here below these lows. So yeah. And for these, if we go to the daily chart, trying to log into my broker real quick. I don't know why it's playing games. See, it looks a little bit busy in here, so let's kind of clean this up a little bit. Something you want to keep in mind, we do have, obviously, the recovery. We talked about this. This high to low, high, if it fails, or if it breaks this and continues to leave this low down here as a failure swing, once we take this out, that's going to set the stage for us to really get up here. So again, we are definitely still moving higher. DXY has turned a little bit. So again, we're going to see how this behaves. There's kind of like a decoupling happening, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So, you know, with that being said, you know, we got to be kind of cautious. Let me set this up. We did got that news event that just came out. Seems like it is pushing price a little bit to the buy side. And all these little gaps in here, these lines, these are new week opening gaps. We got the daily order block here. We do have a fair value gap in here on the daily. We got this up candle, like I said, it's an order block. And we got the graded price swing from this high to that low, 25%, 50%. You can see it's holding there. 75%, and then we got the full high potentially being targeted if it goes higher. This fair value gap, you could put the quadrants, right? Get some accurate depictions as far as, you know, what's available for targeting. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. So we scrub through some of this real quick. So what we can see here is we just got above this, so now we've changed the state of delivery here. Breaking up above this, returning into it, then going once more to the buy side, fully confirms it. I mean, we're pretty damn confirmed so far. There's no reason to think short at all whatsoever. Yeah, yesterday took out the day before, right, the low. We do have a high here, previous day's high. For the Dow, previous day's high has already been kind of taken here. For the S&P, and again, we're pushing into a bearish PD array on this higher time frame, right? So you're definitely going to want to study how that's going to behave. And then of course we do have this as a high that's still available. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Right, we are kind of reacting here. We still got 6:30 to watch for. Notice how I haven't been on the lower time frame yet. And we're gonna gradually get down to it. What a weird movement! Look at that. Yeah, we got these equal highs up here on the Dow. Very obvious. Relatively equal highs here. Definitely got equal highs here. This drop down to go higher. It's a market maker buy model, delivered pretty nicely. See, I think we'll keep this here. So again, we got new week opening gap in here. It's kind of hitting that. So we got the low, high, lower low. It's pulling into a breaker. We're at the new week opening gap. So again, previous day's high. I want to see that taken out. So yeah, now we can drop down a little bit. It has had a pretty aggressive move, just straight up. We were able to capture a lot of this yesterday, the whole entire run. We called it all the way up, and then we've been looking at this high since yesterday. And it looks like we'll get that, right? So new week opening gap, we're trading in that right now. Let's see if we can use that, run up above this, and then see how it kind of behaves in there. I'm not bearish until we prove it. Proving it would require this level to obviously aggressively push price down. Fully confirmed that we go towards the downside, in my opinion, or at least to target this low, if we violate the 50% of this. Right, so we're going to require a good amount. The recovery has been very aggressive. Right, it came off the low after they liquidated a bunch of people, which they've done a couple times this year. Right, this isn't like a abnormal thing this year, especially with all the stuff happening in the world. You know, it's just, that's the kind of environment we're in. But yeah, so this high, low, high, failure swing, that would be what's called a type 2 dealing range. And we would have to monitor, once this high gets taken, it should set the stage for us to get up above, up to the high up there, which has relative equal highs. So yeah, we'll kind of see what happens. DXY is in a range. It's kind of unwilling to move. So that could be a problem. It could cause an issue. So definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah. Yeah, it's been an amazing week so far. Hopefully you guys have been safe this week. Yesterday we just absolutely obliterated everything in a good way. And it's just been amazing. Definitely been an amazing year that I've shown publicly, live, every day, every week here on YouTube. But yeah, so we'll see how this wants to behave. We got an order block here too on the daily. It is reacting from a daily fair value gap, and the 50% of the weekly wick, the 2-week wick. Or wait, is that a week? Oh, yeah, weekly wick. You can see how it's acting as resistance. So, but it's still in a range. Okay, so very hectic. So again, I'm looking for this buy side up here. Okay, just to kind of keep it to the point a little bit. So I'm bullish. I'm not bearish. Doesn't look bearish. Unless we were to get down below the 50% of this. This simply looks like a type 2 dealing range. The reaction here on the DXY. Again, we got to see what this is going to choose to do. We do have a mitigation block here. So ideally, it's going to hold this and then continue to drop lower if that's what we're going to see take place. We're kind of trapped between this higher time frame suspension block and or fair value gap, whatever you want to look at it as. Very similar, right? But we also have the mitigation block. And we're kind of in a range with DXY too. So we wait for macros. Just because we see something in price doesn't mean we execute, right? We got to have. Oh, let me fix this camera real quick. What the heck is happening? It's all uncentered all of a sudden. There. But yeah, we're not just going to execute. We're not just going to hop on the chart and then just start throwing trades because everybody wants signals. It's just not what's going to happen. And the environment is absolutely insane overall in the world. Peace deals are being made and all that stuff, so that's a good thing. But hopefully you guys understand from Sunday what our opinion has been, right? The retracement up. We wanted to see how this was going to behave. It's held, so now it looks like down candles are still supporting price. That's going to be pretty solidly determined with how we react here. And of course, we got the previous day's high. That's a very easy, obvious target. So yeah, we're going to see if we can't get something that pushes us up to there. Something to keep in mind, we do have this here, okay? That's trendline liquidity. If you look at some of this stuff here, right, we got 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly candles. So we're in a bullish hourly power 3 for now. We've had consecutive 4 hour bullish candles, just non-stop going to the buy side. And the daily candle has been bullish, so it's a bullish power 3 so far. Very rapid, right? Fast London. So it's not unreasonable to believe that we may see price going into the open pull against that behavior, right? Fast London is generally looked at, from my opinion, as something that's going to turn around, at least for a short time. Why would that be? Well, if it's a fast London, a lot of times they want to come down and sweep out some liquidity first before they end up going. So every time London is extremely aggressive, that's the main thing that I go into the chart thinking about, right? Because it happens over and over. Like yesterday, fast London, right? Kind of consolidated, but nonetheless was very fast, and we were able to get in and participate in something that went higher, which I think I could pull that up and show you. I don't know why Tradevate? I don't know why they don't let us see like a large amount of like previous executions. I do have the screenshot though. So let me see where that's at. Took one in here, a second one. This here is that low that turned around. So this here was a loss, right? I exited too early. I shouldn't have exited early. We talked about that in my private group. Same thing here. But then because it held up down here using one of the models I use, I executed, it was like 70 points or something like that, 60 points here. I think it's like, this was 77 points. This was 62 points from this level here. Almost got stopped out on that second one. But nonetheless, a couple of my students actually caught this, ran it all the way up to the buy side. So yeah, just to prove it, right? And I don't know, like I said, I don't know why Tradevate doesn't let me see the previous. I have no idea why. I did it live, so there's people were there, so you can rest assured I'm not playing games. But yeah, so nothing has really changed overall. It does seem like, again, we're going to target this high up here. I would prefer to see us break down a little bit, maybe sweep that, then go, but it may not do so. It looks like it's pretty aggressive. It did take this low, and it looks like this fair value gap and the new week opening gap are holding price. So we may see this run up. We're pre-market open still, so even if it runs up there going into the open, it still could very well either take this and then decline, sweep this, then go, basically creating a wick to target the low, stop these people out, target trendline liquidity, right? Maybe punch a little bit lower into it. This high up here to the low, higher high, should act as a BPR. I think we may even have a breaker there if we look a little bit higher in time frame. It's more of an order block. Sometimes breakers and order blocks overlap, so. But yeah, we could see that. We see this, right? High, low, higher high. So this up candle here. Right? If we get above that, we could watch that range. Wicking down below this area, like I said, could be the case, is definitely a reasonable thing to anticipate. Potentially, if it does reverse a little bit. Does that change anything about where we're aiming? No. Doesn't change a damn thing. And we're going to continue to try to push this higher, especially if we see DXY eventually manifest shorter or lower prices, and especially if we violate this. Right, this is a daily suspension block per what ICT has mentioned recently. Right, just another thing that we could note for further confirmation when order flow is delivering sensitive levels, and you could see that it's acting sensitive here. It was pretty sensitive here too. Traded into it and then offered one more, and then the last day or so has been retracing, basically targeting previous day's lows. And nothing in here tells us that we are overwhelmingly going to decline, right? The weekly chart on the DXY looks like it may just be like retracing a little bit. If we go to the monthly too, I mean, it's just sideways. It's kind of, if this monthly chart, if you were looking at this as if it was the 5-minute chart, what would you be feeling right now? Right? Well, if that's how you would feel on the 5-minute, right? However you would feel on the 5-minute, you got to feel the same way. Because why? Everything is the same. It does the same stuff. It's just different on the different time frames in terms of what it's potentially doing overall, right? Because the lower time frame delivery is working inside these higher time frames. But that doesn't mean that you change the way that you view price action on those different time frames, right? So if you thought about this as if it was the 5-minute chart, what would you be thinking price should or could do, right? You'd be taking the same perspective to this, but this just takes a long time. It takes months to deliver these candles. So whatever your assumption would be, you'd have that assumption for at least a couple weeks, unless something proves otherwise, right? So until this monthly chart fully breaks above this high, right, and starts breaking levels to the buy side, it may just be short term, right? But the daily chart is like that middle ground between the higher time frame somewhat and lower time frame ish, or like starting to go to the lower time frame. But you keep the perspective overall of what's really going on. And then of course the 15-minute is a good bellwether chart, like ICT teaches. That's between obviously the daily and the those lower time frames. I guess it's kind of like how you could look at it. The 15-minute is good because you can look at the 15-minute and you could utilize that while still being able to keep tabs on the higher time frame, while somewhat being on the lower time frame. But you have to obviously understand what the lower time frame looks like in relation to the higher time frame, to be able to really navigate that time frame effectively from both perspectives, without having to always look at this daily chart to know what it's doing. Eventually you'll learn how to look at the 15-minute chart and see bullish or bearish candles, right? By looking at the open here. This is a bullish candle, right? Bullish candle. Yesterday's decline, right? This whole drop in there. If you find the open price, which is here, right? You see what kind of candle was printed up to the close, right? The close is here. So from here, had a wick, and then a little bit of a wick down below, but the body of the candle's here for the open, and then the close is somewhere over here, right? Wherever the last candle was. So the 130, yeah, like right there, right? It's kind of interesting how the close is up here. I guess that's this candle right there. But yeah, it's a little bit beyond the 130. Very interesting how the market or trading view decides to show the opens and the closes and whatnot, like the open prices. Of course, ICT traders look at the open of a candle a little bit differently, but because we use like midnight Eastern or 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sunday's open, right? Sometimes you can use Monday, right? Monday's open as your Power 3 reference for the weekly chart. ICT mentioned that about Forex. Haven't really heard him say much about that for indices. I'm not sure if there's a difference. There are some differences in what we look for, or things that are important, time-based things that are different between Forex and the indices. Not many, but there are definitely some differences here and there. Right? But yeah, so we're still holding this level here. It did reach down into it. Like I said, this daily high here is what I'm looking at. If this was closer to the open, I wouldn't be surprised if they do decline, get down into this, sweep this, then go. We're inside the macro, so this macro may, given what we see at this moment, may reach up to this previous day's high here. And then when it sweeps that, because we're ahead of the open, I'm not entirely sure, given how fast London was, I'm not sure if we're going to want to dig lower a little bit, right? Then look to go, because pre-market open puts you in, a lot of times, the manipulation phase of the range. And then of course, because this is the indices, sometimes the high and the low of the day can form after AM session. But right now, because we're so far away from the open price, I don't really believe there's a chance for it to do that, to go deep. I would not really take away the idea that we could sweep this low, then go. Getting above this high, though, we got to remember, this high to that low, right, we're going to see that as a balanced price range. We do have a little bit of the gap down here, well, a lot of the gap, that's still widely available from like this low, from this low to like that. So that's all the gap from Sunday that has not been traded to. If we go to the regular trading hours gap, we're way up here right now, right? So we have a lot of gap that's still available from down here all the way up to where we're currently at. So that's a massive regular trading hours gap. Because it's so large, it's probably not going to try to come back into it too aggressively. If it was a little bit smaller, that would increase the odds that price is going to give a strong retracement. We may, because everything is so heavily manipulated right now, because of the tariff talks and all this other stuff that's going on, we may get a small dig into it. We are still bullish until proven otherwise. But if it was a smaller regular trading hours gap, not a freaking massive, like almost 200 point regular trading hours gap, if it was smaller than that, it'd be better to reach into. But because it's so large, it might not. It might just tap a little bit, then continue to rip. But we'll see. But yeah, we are inside this macro, so like I said, previous day's high is my main objective right now. Because we're pre-market, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down, there's really no reason to think it's going to drop. Bias is bullish, right? We're still looking to go higher. We got relative equal highs here on the Dow. We do have a breaker here, so like I said, this is going to be important to watch. The candles here to the down movement, it's also a bearish order block on the daily, like I said. Alright, so yeah, nothing changes until something changes. Now, if this would have dropped like it did and then respected something like this, or failed to really recover like this, it'd be more reasonable to think that, okay, maybe this is going to be a shift. But there's really nothing telling us that. We are very overinflated, as we kind of always are with the Nasdaq and the S&P and the Dow. Like, there's no real reason why we should be so high up, like, given like the realities of the overall economy and our debt and all that. But it's neither here nor there. It's predisposed to go up anyway in terms of the stock market. But yeah, this definitely liquidated a bunch of people. Probably got everybody thinking short. So that is the reason why this went higher. And then of course Trump tweeted, right? He's like, don't worry, said some positive information. And of course, price took that as an excuse. The tariffs, he mentioned tariffs in a tweet. And just the mention of tariffs, bang, it just unknowingly just completely declined. ICT did talk about identifying accumulation as prices digging into a high, or same thing for digging into a low, and how this could have been anticipated. I still wouldn't pick a top. I don't care what's being taught. Makes sense though. All this was accumulation, and then they took their profit right down here, offloaded their buy positions at all-time highs, secure their overall positions and whatnot, and then now we've recovered. Good morning, Matt. Appreciate you hopping on, brother. But yeah, so again, we're going to see how this delivers in here. I definitely want the buy side to be taken. I want this previous day's high. It's very close. We're not slowing down. We do got relative equal highs up here. The recovery has been massive. We're in a potential type 2 dealing range once we break this high up here. This high, low, higher high, you could look at that as a breaker. Once we get above that, declining a little bit would make sense because London was so quick. Similar to what happened yesterday, how we caught this massive move. Matt was there. I think Byron was there too in the chat, for those that maybe didn't see yesterday. It was pretty intense. But yeah, we see just straight movement. So regular trading hours gaps below. I want to make sure I mention that again. And yeah, we're just ripping to the buy side. And this fair value gap's holding this high to that low. It's an order block, right? And it's kind of holding. It's kind of holding, right? So no reason to think short at the moment. But we are coming into this, so we got to watch what that's going to do, okay? So yeah, hopefully everyone's had a good week so far. I know my private group has had a great week, right? Had a pretty amazing week. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? And we're still kind of before the open, so. Did my stupid camera move again? It did. What a freaking idiotic. Such a dumb camera. I don't know why it keeps moving. Yeah, I don't know why that damn thing keeps moving. It keeps sliding for some reason. Stupid camera. So looking at this lower time frame again, this is just rapid. It's like rapid repricing to the buy side. So it is risky because London's been so quick. It's very risky to try to jump in, like think, oh, it's moving quickly. Like I gotta get in. I'm gonna miss something. That's the type of emotion that this is building in people. Like you can just obviously imagine that. You know, maybe you feel that way. Oh, am I missing it? Like, no, you're not. You know, you're not missing anything. You know, we could wait till the whole entire first hour of trading after the 6:30 time, after the open takes place, and we could still feel like we're not missing anything. Because there's always something that's going to show up. You know, you just got to wait. There's multiple macros, multiple times to get in, right? As long as you have a model. Most models are showing up multiple times a day. There's a main move that begins, there's an ending move, right? And then there's stuff all in between. So it's just a matter of being able to identify it. And it takes time. But yeah, my eyes are right there. I'm looking for this previous day's high to be taken. It's too close. I'm not sure if they're going to use this pre-market session macro, right, the 550 macro, to punch us up there, take that, then look to come down and maybe target some of this. It could very well just rip to the buy side and just keep flying, right? But again, we are here at this daily order block. So because London has been so aggressive, they've been in a hurry to get there, right? And now they're about to hit it again. And that's an opposing PD array. So counter trend ideas, if we're going higher or lower, but in terms of going higher, if we hit an opposing PD array, that's a bearish PD array on that higher time frame, you can literally use that to consider framing out counter trend ideas. I have a whole video about that here on YouTube, so you guys can go check that out. I think I was on a live call with my private group when I was talking about that, and I posted that here. But yeah, my freaking stomach is screaming at me right now. It's like, go get some food. We'll eat later. Yeah, can you guys see everything and hear everything okay? I've been getting messages or like notifications all morning. That's why I was a little bit late today. We jumped on at 5:15. Because I was just having a bunch of problems. Can you guys see and hear everything okay? I know there's like a 10-second lag too. So just let me know in the chat if you can hear and see everything okay. Yeah, okay. And yeah, there wasn't really much news. It was only news at 5:30 this morning, like an hour ago-ish, or 30 minutes ago. So of course, when news is early like that, we're going to be on 30 minutes before, so 5 a.m. And 6:30 news and beyond, we're up at 6, or on at 6. I'm always up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it kind of just is what it is. I'm always here. What the hell? Oh, it's the macro. Yeah, DXY is definitely wicking off this level after it took previous day's low. Let's go back to the weekly chart. Freaking hurt my neck the other day. So bad. Ugh. So bad. Alright, you guys can hear me? Okay, cool. But yeah, we got this inversion here. I think I'm actually pull this down a little bit. It's like this whole level, because we got a gap there, gap here. It did overlap that gap. It overlapped this one too. So again, I would really like to see, if it's going to go higher, I want to see the response here, obviously. Overlapping this fair value gap after taking stops, that could be something significant. It could turn into something significant. Oh, man. This FEGN just stands for fair value gap neutralized. And these consecutive down candles here, if we go to the 8-hour, you can see it's an order block. So breaking above that, coming back into it, should be able to present a potential, keyword potential, change in the state back to buy side. And again, that would be something that does not promote this ripping to the buy side, at least early on. You know, it may do something different when the open comes out. But because London was so quick, when you see overnight being very quick, when you see the previous day being very quick and one-sided also, you want to go into the AM session the next day being very cautious, right? Like, you don't want to just go in there gunslinging in that direction, because you never know. The likelihood of price pulling against a fast London, at least in some capacity early on, going into the open, is highly likely. If you go and study this too, like study London sessions that were really quick, and then see what New York session does, I mean, it'll show you validity right away, how this happens over and over and over, and why I am continuously saying that when London is quick, or when the previous day is quick, I'm looking for price to pull against it first. Why? Because I want to scoop liquidity up from the overnight or from the previous day. You know, and then we compare that with, you know, whatever our model is going in the direction of the higher time frame narrative. You know, and we're kind of at this moment, because it was so aggressive, at a moment watching what this order block and potential bearish breaker is going to do, right? Because if it holds this and then displaces lower, closes maybe below this, obviously we'll look to try to target something like down here, or maybe just the gap, and then, you know, some of these other lows that are present. But currently, this has been an incredible recovery. But this, I mean, this has happened over and over. The rate cuts are also coming this week this month. We have another rate cut coming. This time it's going to be even bigger. Remember, when there's rate cuts at all-time highs, the next 6 to 12 months generally is bullish, right? Because it's positive for whatever reason for the stock market, because it stimulates business. So we've already had one, and what did it lead to? It led to an anticipatable continued bullish run, which we predicted before it happened. Use that as fundamental analysis to justify. And so far, we've been justified in being correct with that assumption. And so with that being said, with that on the back end, fundamentally, it's a bit difficult to assume that we're going to be overwhelmingly bearish, right? Like, this is obviously manipulated. It was not like something economic that led to this. It was Trump tweeted about tariffs, how China is going to be charged 100% because of their shenanigans, so. And, that's not necessarily horrible, but it is something that is beautifully used as an excuse, right? So it was used as the excuse, and then they blamed him for it, which, is kind of the objective for many people. But yeah, we've inverted this for value gap. Like I said, this high to that low should be a breaker. This should also be an order block. If we move up in time frame, you can see that here. Here too. Can also see I could take that order block off. Down candle or an up candle, fair value gap. We do got a wick in here. I mean, there's so many wicks in here. If you were to map out all of them, like, it would be an absolute mess. Could use this large one. I like to use the bigger wicks, the ones that are like the largest out of a group of them. A lot of times it serves you well. It's good enough. Every single wick obviously has a quadrant, which you guys have probably been learning recently. We've been talking about wicks for years at this point, for many, many reasons. But yeah, just find the bigger ones. If you find small ones, don't really worry about it too much, especially if one that's close to it overtook it, like this one here, or like this one here, or like this one here. The levels on the bigger one will be a little better to plot. That doesn't mean that this wick and some of these smaller ones don't have quadrants that price will react to, right? It's just, you want to try to simplify, or at least use things that are within reason. Obviously, if you don't care about your chart being super busy, then, by all means, mark off every single wick and find the quadrant. You'll learn stuff, right? You'll learn how price is bouncing around those levels. But yeah, it's, when you're doing too much, it feels like you're doing too much. So take that, consider it, right? Consider some of these things, right? Higher time frame levels are always going to be more important. So, unless you're executing, well, even when you're executing, right, you want to have everything considered, but when you're plotting things, you want to find the most recent stuff, like new week opening gaps, right? They could be useful up to 6 months down the line, sometimes a whole year. I've seen things from last year, right, or like a previous year get utilized, later on. There's not really much of an expiration date, right? But the most recent, the ones that are in the area, are the most important. So you're not going to worry about stuff over here. PD arrays that are down here, aside from the new week opening gap. You can have like the last 5 new day opening gaps if you wanted. for like the week. Previous week's new day opening gaps are going to be useful. Everything can be reclaimed, right? It gets reused when it passes through it again later on, especially gaps like new week opening gap, new day opening gap, regular trading hours gaps. Just because it finishes the day doesn't mean that the regular trading hours gap is now not useful. Like this one down here, right? If price breaks down, shows that it wants to get down there, you know, we may look to come and target some of that level, right? So you want to keep these things in mind. You should have like a whole chart, as ICT has talked about, labeling certain things like that, like gaps and, you know, whatever else. So that when you need to refer to it, you can refer to it, or those levels, you can refer to them. Or at like the start of the day, you'll have like a reference, you know, you'll at least write down stuff, right? ICT has like a notepad. That's all he really uses. And then other templates as well. But he's got a template for one specific thing, and then he writes down like the levels. And then if price gets close to those levels, he just looks at the notepad, and you know, there it is. He doesn't have to have like 1,000 things on the chart. You know, a lot of times I'm putting a lot of this stuff on the chart because I know a lot of you guys are learning. You know, when I execute, I try to keep it as clean as possible. A lot of times I'm going like this when I'm in a trade, right? So that I can kind of see what's going on, but then take it off so I can not be distracted by what's happening, and I can see clearly, you know, what price is referencing and utilizing, and it's not like really, really overwhelmingly busy. Because some stuff, like stuff down here, doesn't matter if we're up here, unless we're trading to that level, or we're going to utilize a particular level. You know, what matters truly is whatever's happening right here currently. You know, and of course, you know, same thing's true with every other time frame. You know, just relative to kind of where we're at. Like this candle here, this wick, if we trade down into it, it's obviously going to be something that could be important. Let me actually go mark that off, actually. Gotta make this a little bit lighter. Oh, man, my freaking neck, my eyes. Ugh. Gotta take care of your neck and your eyes. Because I've been trading for, 6 years now? And when I first started trading, I didn't really have any eye problems. But now it's like my eyes are just like bloodshot 24 hours a day. Like dry and rough. My neck too now. Doesn't help that I kind of like messed it up the other day. But over time, this stuff will definitely take a toll on you. And I haven't, 6 years is not even that much, you know, in the grand scheme of like a person's life that they're trading, if they're trading their whole life. But it doesn't really take much. It doesn't take too many years. And I'm 31 too, so you know, I noticed that once you hit 30, things start to happen. Like the day that I turned 30, I was like, damn, my back hurts. Like, what is happening to me? You know, so yeah. If you're not 30 yet, I know some of you guys aren't, but you better start thinking about taking care of yourself, because a lot of us don't care early on. But dude, I feel like I'm like 50. Like my back and everything's just like falling apart. Probably doesn't help that I played sports aggressively when I was younger, like football and every other sport, and I was always like the smallest one, and so I was always getting freaking steamrolled, but I was faster than everybody, so they couldn't catch me. But if they caught me, I'm getting crushed. Like, completely crushed. But kind of how it is. Did any of you guys play sports when you guys were younger? I know my brother did. My brother played basketball. Still kind of does. I think the mindset in sports, the mindset that sports develops, I think it's very beneficial. Anything like working out or anything like that builds discipline, makes you deal with losses. I think all that stuff is helpful in terms of life experience. You start to see a lot of things that you've been through in your life manifest, right? Like your mindset and everything, like how you view the world. You see things manifest aggressively when you become a trader. Yeah, Byron played soccer. Nice. Or plays soccer. That's cool. That's cool. Did you play like in a league, or you just be like just chilling with your friends playing soccer? I used to play soccer when I was a little kid. I got pictures from when I was just smashing everybody because I was faster. Semi-pro. Oh snap! Oh snap, Byron! I see you. I see you, playa. Yeah, I wish I could play football still, but once you get out of high school, it's like there's not really much options unless you go to college and whatnot, which I didn't go to college. But I kind of wish I did, just to play football, because those are some of the funnest times in my life. That's for sure. That shit was fun, hella fun. Yeah, they got like the semi-pro football situation. I got a lot of work to do if I was gonna do that. That's for sure. Shit, I'd be working out, bro. I definitely gotta improve that though. The consistency with that. I literally bought all the stuff I need for a gym and I put it in the garage. But yeah, I gotta be more consistent with that. I'm consistent as hell in trading, right? Like I'm constantly doing everything I gotta do all the time, but it's like working out has been, it's always been one of those things. I don't know why. I'm getting better though, bro. I'm getting better. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, keep in mind this is a 30-minute wick, midpoint. Where the hell is the thing? Whatever. It sucks that we can't play music on the live calls because stupid copyright. Like even if you give them credit, they'll still, they'll kind of like flag you for it if you play any music. I think that's like the dumbest thing. I gotta find like good uncopywritten music that doesn't sound hella cheesy. Maybe like lo-fi or something. After a banger trade, get a banger. Yeah, you're right. I definitely have been changing my diet. A lot more like healthy things over the last couple years. Trying to hit like all the metrics that we need for our body to be healthy and whatnot. ChatGPT. Speaking of, ChatGPT again. ChatGPT is actually amazing when it comes to building those types of things, like figuring out what things you should have if you're trying to have or hit specific goals, aside from working out, but just like being healthy in general. That thing's amazing. I bought a juicer, and I ask ChatGPT all the time, like, what kind of juice should I make to hit certain like needed metrics health wise, and that thing just spits out amazing things with sources too. So you can go like dig into it. It's pretty amazing. I encourage every one of you guys to get a juicer. It's actually, I don't really like to, I don't eat a lot. Like I can never really eat a lot. I never really have been able to. Well, when I used to smoke weed, I used to really eat a lot. But yeah, you gotta get a juicer, that's for sure. Oh, Matt, you have a juicer? What? You gotta tell me what some of the recipes. I got a whole book. Of juicing things. I'm literally obsessed with it. Yo, what's up, Fritz? Yeah, no, Byron, you're right. It definitely can help with that. That's for damn sure. Dang, you know what's so interesting? I noticed that everyone thinks that 630, like the open price, is like when everyone should hop on. But I want you guys to make sure you realize that when you hop on so close to the open, and there's news that takes place prior, sometimes it could put you at a disadvantage. So you want to try to consider like, okay, if 5:30 or 8:30 Central Time, or what is that? Central Time is 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Is it 9:30? No. Now I'm getting all mixed up with the times. Let's just keep it like this. 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, an hour before the New York Open. If there's news at that time, you want to make sure that you're on at least by that time, because you want to be able to get a feel for what that's going to do. Sometimes a move will happen, or the move will start, because that's when the news takes place. Right, so you want to just consider that. And I appreciate whoever just subscribed. Just heard the little sound. Did it pop up an animation? I do have an animation that's supposed to go off. I heard the sound. I didn't really see on my end an animation. But yeah, I'm kind of going back to what I was just saying though, before I get sidetracked. When it comes to the news, when it comes to time, and what you're trying to trying to do in terms of when you should hop on the chart, it's highly encouraged when the news is coming out. You're on, but like 30 minutes before. And so in some cases, some of you guys may not be able to do it, and I understand that, but it's worth considering trying to make that adjustment, because there's been so much that you can determine, especially with us going live, specifically with these live calls. That's the system that I operate with personally, and then of course for scheduling here. So if some of you guys are unfortunately hopping on a little bit late, a lot of times we've already talked about so much already, and it's going to be difficult for me because I want to serve all of you guys. So I feel like I want to go back and talk about things, but then again, it's going to be repetitive to a lot of students that may have been here. And then of course it takes time, and then we're at a point where we're trying to look for things setting up for moves and whatnot. But yeah, just for future reference, I know some of you guys are new to the channel. Maybe you guys just found me yesterday. I've had a couple people that found me yesterday who I've been talking to that are on the call right now. But yeah, just for future reference, keep that in mind. Just so you don't show up with a lot of information already shared. And of course, you can always watch the replay and whatnot, but there's nothing like hopping on something live, being able to ask questions, seeing it talked about real time, and then it just delivers. The fact that it's all recorded obviously allows you to do that, but it's really, really nice to have your chart like on your computer that you're looking at play out as we're talking about things. right? There's just nothing that beats that type of learning experience at all. There's nothing. No course, no mentorship, no person that claims their videos are this or that can compete with someone that knows what they're doing, that goes live, that's willing to walk you through it live, while things are being done real time. There's just nothing that competes with it, So yeah, hopefully, if you guys didn't know about the timing and scheduling and whatnot, hopefully that kind of clears it up. But yeah, Matt had a pretty good pretty good experience yesterday. Matthew's pretty new to the community, and yesterday was just amazing. It was just one of those days that's just like nothing can go wrong, like everything did exactly what we wanted it to do, which is generally the case, but sometimes it's just absolutely spectacular. I mean, we're pretty incredible almost every single day, but days like yesterday, it's just like we got a magic wand and it's just doing every single thing from every level, offering so many opportunities. So yesterday was a good example of how, like Matt said right there, like, how this is just unmatched, unrivaled in terms of experience you can gain. Much better than just watching videos from a mentor that doesn't allow access. Some of these people have such big egos that, it's just to the detriment of the student. They're so full of themselves, so they try to act like they're the president or something. But to each his own, I guess, right? But yeah, see what I was talking about? We're going into the open. We have left this previous day's high. We do have SMT at the highs. But yeah, do you guys see what I was talking about, right? The risk, right? I was like, it's going to come close to the open. There is a risk of it coming down, trying to sweep out early buyers because London was so aggressive. These trendline traders, I wouldn't be surprised if it punches through it a little bit more aggressively. So it's pretty much done exactly what the anticipation was potentially with this early decline or a later decline, targeting the liquidity down there. If we go to the 1 hour, we could see we got the 1 hour low right there. Does that upset anything if it takes this low out? No, it does not. We do got SMT though. The S&P pretty much took out the buy side. We got the Dow failing to take out the buy side. So again, there's that SMT there, right? It's also an SMT within the daily time frame. Let me see. Not really. They've all kind of went into their fair value gap. But at these highs in here, you can see what I'm talking about with the SMT. Right, so we'll see if that's going to trigger in a pretty significant response to the downside, targeting some of London's liquidity. And again, look at what we've tapped into. We basically, if I'm not mistaken, hit the order block exactly. Let me go make sure. So pull it down a little bit further. Get more of an accurate read. Yeah, it looks like we absolutely perfectly hit it. So yeah, we'll see what price wants to do here. It's a 30-minute wick. And we'll see if this retracement can lead to us taking out this previous day's high. Again, I would not be surprised if this decline is what happens to purge out early buyers, sweeps them out, and then maybe inverts this fair value gap again. I can't remember what. Oh, that's the breaker. Okay, this is a good example of you, or a good example of why you should be labeling everything. Maybe color code it, right? Like if you have daily markups, maybe color them a certain color. If you have like a 8 hour, 4 hour, or maybe anything above the 1 hour should be a different color. Anything below should be a separate color. Just makes it easier so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth. But yeah, this here, all right, if this overlaps this fair value gap, which we are doing, and we break down below this low and it's aggressive and doesn't just like wick, we may see this create a balanced price range here. Once it takes this low out and closes below it, all this overlapping price delivery should act as a BPR. If it is going to be respected and go lower, if it comes back into that range, the 50% needs to be held up. And we have to, you know, see DXY go higher, or we should see DXY go higher if that's going to be the case. But that would be like early signs that we may see price turn and try to target a little bit more of this range. And then again, if it targets the 50% from this high to that low and we smash below it, this could be looked at as a potential market maker sell model. And then once it gets down into that level, you know, it may be something to target. We do got a regular trading hours gap here. I notice how a lot of things are now flying off the chain now. So we do got a regular trading hours gap, 50% here. 272 point regular trading hours gap. Massive. 276 point regular trading hours gap yesterday. Notice how it went all the way down almost to the entire thing. Is that going to happen today? I'm not entirely sure, right? I do believe that there is a chance for us to take this previous day's high out. That's my objective. Main objective is that. Looks like we're respecting this fair value gap here on this 15-minute. It's also really liking this breaker in here. Hasn't really, you know, completely turned it on. You know, so, you know, we'll see. Once it gets above that, we wouldn't want to see this level get violated, the 50%. But yeah, I do still believe that we're going to continue to march towards the buy side. Okay, so let's see what happens. Is it going to do that before it takes this low out, though? That's something that obviously remains to be seen. Right, the trendline liquidity, notice how they've smashed it. Normal trendline liquidity or trendline perspective would be, okay, it broke through it, now it's going to use it as resistance, right? So that's what people are probably thinking right now that have this trend line up. You know, so you got to keep tabs on what retail could be thinking right now. We do see this decline in here. It did create a stop hunt, so let's watch this fair value gap. Those of you in my private group, we talked about the razor model, so it's something I'm going to be observing here, see if the components can take place. Right, so retail would potentially see this, normal retail would potentially see this as a trend line broken, turn to resistance. Right, we're going to watch and see this, right? What is it going to do here? Right, we got equal highs. We do got SMT at the highs, but we have aggressive downside in the DXY. So let's keep tabs on this. Mind you, this dash line here, what is that? That's a 30-minute wick midpoint. So we're going to have to keep observing that. See what that's going to do. Right now we got to run above the high. We got 1, 2, 3 drive pattern. Okay. So this is showing us we're not fully open to declining just yet, or rallying just yet. And we are targeting the liquidity from earlier. Right, so they're definitely taking a dive towards that. Buys would have been considered, in my opinion, if we would have inverted this for value gap and traded into it. Then we would have targeted the buy side up here. We could see that it's respecting this right now. Too early in the open for me to really want to take an execution. Correlation's a bit thrown off also at the same time, right? Dow's running higher, Nasdaq's, you know, looking to dig a little bit deeper or spend more time here. It's reaching for fair value gap. We also got this order block here too. So again, ideally, like I said earlier, when London is extremely fast, it's expected that the AM session is going to pull against that in some capacity. So yeah, we'll see how much it wants to pull against it. But yeah, we expected this to be potentially the case, right? Because just simply that's just kind of just the way it is. We could see that this in here turned to a balanced price range, right? The overlapping fair value gap. Notice how this wick went into it, couldn't get above it. You could see kind of why that fair value gap I pointed out would have been more important for a buy if it would have got above it, and why I would have considered trying to take a buy, right? Because this would have created a BPR, and then we have this previous day's high, and price is bullish. You know, in that scenario, I would have potentially seen it go from here to the high. If I would have found an execution, that's where I would have exited. And then because of the risk of us taking this and then trying to do something like this, if it didn't want to drop at first like it is here, it becomes a lot more likely. But now, since we're taking out this stop, we got to see what the relationship's going to be with this low. DXY is absolutely accelerating, right? That makes me feel like this is potentially just a stop hunt. If we take a look at the other indices, it looks like they're doing something very similar. The Dow, absolutely. So this SMT at the lows, do you see that? Failure swing. We do have SMT at the highs here for the Dow too, but when you have SMT like that with both sides, you definitely want to use the DXY to try to help confirm or solidify confirmation for which one is going to be respected. And at this time, the Nasdaq is the sixth sister. We do have DXY declining aggressively. So Nasdaq is going to be the slower of the two. So yeah, we do got this here. So this fair value gap is the one that took a low, so let's kind of watch that. If it gets above this high, this up movement, down movement, taking stops with displacement that gets above it, that would become a breaker. See, so we got this in here. Let's see what happens. Remember, my attention for now, until proven otherwise, I want to see if we could take that previous day's high. It's pretty reasonable. And them opening up, going against the fast London to take out stops and then go. I mean, you know, it just kind of makes sense why they would do that. I'm watching up here. I want to see how this candle gets traded to. If it gets traded to. If it doesn't, we'll probably continue to go lower and dig once more. But my attention, what I'm trying to aim at today, is going to be this previous day's high here. It's been a bullish week so far, clearly the bullish candle. See, it looks like it is respecting this gap in here, right, for bearishness. So yeah, that little shallow run right there. Right, so nothing to do yet. Again, I'm not too sure how confident I am in the fact that it's going to decline aggressively with such a weak DXY. This response did come from this daily bearish order block, right? So we're going to keep this in mind as it continues to push lower. We're not in the macro yet. We're almost 5 minutes before the macro. So now I'm going to continue to move these things. Let me actually. So yeah, I'm watching how this is trading this sell side. It's looking like it's, kind of offered the break in the trend line to then continue. Again, I'm not entirely behind this going to the downside aggressively. It has not confirmed that fully, aside from the fact that it created this, right? Now, if it retraces into something like, creates a swing high here, right? And we have a lower high to the left, higher high in the middle, lower high to the right, and then it breaks down below a low like that, that would be enough for me to target a little bit deeper into this range in here. I don't like trading against DXY like this, and nothing's really overwhelmingly proven that, this is going to be turned off to go to the buy side. It's digging in, right? So we've got this, we got high, low, higher high in here. It would have been better if this was a failure swing. I think, yeah, we got SMT at the lows there. So yeah, this here is going to be what I want to identify. All right, this is a breaker. We do got this high here getting swept, so we'll see how price treats that. It's kind of a sloppy mess right now. But yeah, we're watching this. Let's see if price can trade into this and see how it respects that. And this is a breaker here. Okay, so maybe you wait, right? Maybe you wait for this to deliver above this. That would be something that would be reasonable. But you could, there could be an aggressive perspective in here, but given that it's kind of sideways a little bit, I think it's better to wait a second. Oh, I hate when it does this. Why does it do that? But yeah, Nasdaq out of the three looks pretty vicious. Look at that big wick. Overall, we're technically inside of this range here. We're also inside of the previous week, right? So right dead center. So we're at equilibrium. So that could be somewhat of an issue. Kind of just encourages a sloppy environment when we're resting at a higher time frame equilibrium. So again, it's going to be best to really hold off on the trigger for right now and watch things like this low. We'll see how price treats this, because we got to consider what retail's seeing right now. Right, higher time frame wise, again, nothing has changed. We're still aiming for buy side liquidity. If it does choose to be bearish here, again, once it breaks down below this, that would set the stage for us to target something like this 50% of the range from this high to low. But I'm not personally overwhelmingly interested in trying to take a short. Look how nasty that is. Technically, you could have used, if you did have a bearish interest, I'm not going to tell you that that was wrong, right, or something you shouldn't have considered. I knew what I was trying to see, right, which is this high up here, and then how I was going to treat this would have determined whether we were going to continue or if I was going to want to short. But there's a reasonable expectation that this ran up above the high. If you, for whatever reason, could have developed the opinion that it was going to go short, which I wasn't fully behind because of many of the things I talked about this morning. But if maybe shorting made sense to you, right? Running up above these highs here, price displacing here, right? So this is a stop hunt, shift in market structure below this low, and then the fair value gap in there, right? That's not an unreasonable thing to have anticipated, right? I was waiting for this to invert to be with the model that I was looking for at that time. And then, of course, invert and then try to get up above this high here. So that was the objective that I wanted. We did talk about how this was going to push against London. There was a likelihood of it taking place. I wasn't sure exactly how aggressive it was going to be because of how bearish DXY was. But this, I'm still not fully convinced, right, that this is going to entirely turn around. We'll see if that, changes throughout the session. Taking out this low is somewhat of an issue for considering buys. The only way for me to personally try to find a buy now is if we get up above this high, right? I would need that to happen, right? Otherwise, I would have to get in line with the potential short. I want these highs up here, these relative equal highs from the previous day, this high to that high. Because it didn't punch through it, I would really enjoy seeing that get taken out, because the narrative, higher time frame wise, is still not done with going to the buy side. That may prove to fully transition to bearishness if we start to punch a little deeper in here. I know that this was all manipulation, and this has happened numerous times this year. If it wasn't manipulation and it just did a decline like this without crazy ass news events causing it, this is technically a break, right? It broke through all these different levels, so multiple PD arrays are violated. This has happened so often where they manipulate price with the news, and then it just recovers aggressively. So, and I mean, look at what's happened in the Dow. Because this has been the case, I need more evidence that price is going to overwhelmingly be declining, and seasonality is bullish right now. So lots of fundamentals, a lot of fundamental drivers are behind the indices going higher, and the DXY is declining. So it's not as trustworthy as it could be for price to want to overwhelmingly be bearish, right? So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna use this here and watch kind of what that does. See how price wants to treat that. But yeah, so that's kind of why I'm not fully invested in taking a short. That's why I don't trust it. And from what I can see in here, I'm glad that what I'm thinking seems to be true, right? In terms of the hesitance to try to take a short, based on the perspective I just shared, as far as why, right? Because nothing has really changed in the narrative higher time frame wise. So any of this decline, it's just short term in nature. Unless the higher time frame proves a little bit more that it wants to be bearish overall, I'm not fully interested in trying to take a short at this current moment, especially with these relative equal highs and bearish DXY. So yeah, my attention's up here. If we get above this high, this becomes a bullish breaker. Okay? So yeah, let's see if this can get us up above that area in there. Let's move to the 1 minute real quick. It's looking like a breaker's going to manifest here. High, low, higher, high. DXY is rapidly repricing lower. We've got all the other indices looking like they're still interested. Again, we do have some, one of the things that I can see going against this to turn it into high resistance is the fact that we got that SMT. Yeah, like in this instance, if this was to decline after doing all this, clearly this is a high resistance delivery. Clearly. Low probability condition. It may open up, right? It may have just started like this, and it may open up later, or really soon within this macro. Notice how we're in the macro and it's doing this delivery. Prior to the macro, it's been a slop fest, right? It has pulled against the rapid rally that we saw over London. So it did exactly what the anticipation was, what I wanted to see it do. And again, I'm not fully away from the buy side delivery. So my narrative has not changed. I have not engaged any shorts. I didn't want to take a short. I haven't said that shorts are, the main thing I'm looking at. I haven't said that I'm disregarding my initial opinion, which is basically seeing this go lower to go higher because of how rapid the London session was and how we got these equal highs up here. But I'm willing to be flexible, right? Like, say this does break down, but if it breaks down like that, I'm probably going to be chilling. I'd rather see a breakdown if we take this previous day's high, try a little bit further to get inside this daily bearish order block, right? But even then, right, the higher time frame on the indices is not bearish right now. All of this was fake. It was a fake decline because of tariff conversations, and then the rapid increase, right, or the rapid recovery, came off the heels of Trump basically talking about everybody should calm down, right? Like that's what he texted or tweeted. He said, "Oh, everybody chill, everything's gonna be fine," and that pretty much shot price up like 500 points or something like that. But yeah, now we got this breaker, right? Those of you that know one of my other models that we've been talking about recently, hopefully you can see something manifesting in there. And it looks like we've been correct up to this point. So let's see if we can't get price to take that high out. That's simply all I'm looking for is price getting up above that high, previous day's high. And then once it does that, if we can get it to deliver up there, that would be more than enough. And we've got this breaker here to watch. So this high to that low should be a BPR. We already got a stop hunt here. So anyone that was long or taking a buy has now been unseated, right? There is a risk of this just being sideways. There's always that risk. But so far at this moment, shorts are definitely not sexy, right? They don't look like they are something worthwhile in any way. Again, we do got this breaker, so that's kind of secondary to things that could have potentially manifested down here. And yeah, we got price moving now. Pretty rapidly, which is pretty amazing. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, the razor model that I've been talking about recently with you guys, definitely delivered right now. Beautifully. Let's see if it can continue. We're now at the high of the regular trading hours gap right there. Inverted this fair value gap. It's holding. The razor model, by the way, for those of you that are here on YouTube, that's not to, kind of make you feel like I'm keeping something from you, but some stuff is pretty exclusive. But the breaker, right, out of everything else, right, once we peaked above it, that's enough right there for what I normally use. It's one of my models. I have 4 models, and that breaker is definitely one of them, and I did point that out. Plus I kind of hinted at something down here that I taught this last week with my private group. Hopefully you guys are all excited, right, all of you, because we literally just called this out, right? And we did take an execution in there. Let's see what happens. Even if it comes and takes me out, we still got our 20 to 30 points. It's 20, 30 is right there. I may actually just exit it at the 30 if it comes back like that. That's really all I need. If it runs, great. If it doesn't, great. All right, yeah, if we break this high, I'm moving it right to the 30. Mind you, those of you that know, I am not concerned about being the person that gets hundreds of handles. You know, $300-400 a day. I mean, that's more than most people make at their job in general in the whole world, right? So, and yeah, this is a live account. You can see trade of 8. Okay, I guess I'm not going to need that. Yeah, you can see trade of 8. It's not a demo account. It's my Apex funded account. But yeah, let's see. It's already kind of taken that high right here, so it's kind of risky. It may come back and try to sweep a little bit out, but this should be a balanced price range. We should be able to get ourselves up to this high up here. Oh, sorry, I haven't looked at the chat. Holy crap. Okay, I didn't miss anything. But yeah, what an amazing day again. The second straight day of this rapid repricing that we caught the low of, or saw the low, right? We were able to basically identify where the low was at. It's going straight to the target. So yeah, I'll be able to take it off right there, actually, right before the previous day's high. I mean, that's more than enough. $367. It's not bad at all. Something that definitely pays, part of your rent. All your groceries for a couple weeks or a week, depending on how many people you have in your family. If you're a single person, that's enough to pay for all your groceries, right? Just because I took it out doesn't mean it's not going to go up there. Doesn't mean I don't believe it's going to go up there. No, I just have a set thing that I do, a set goal. This was a decent amount above what my normal goal is. That's able to allow me to pay my bills and invest in my retirement and let me have freedom. Thousands and thousands of dollars, making that every other week or every day or whatever. That's a great goal. It's not what you need to focus on when you're first starting out. I think part of the reason that I'm so effective as a mentor is I literally, for the most part, do exactly what I tell you to do. Like if I'm saying take 20 to 30 points, I physically do exactly that, and I do absolutely phenomenally. The last 3.5 years that I've been doing the exact thing that I do continuously, and that I show you guys, it has been absolutely more than enough. When I first started, I thought I needed thousands of points a day, hundreds of points a day, or $10,000 a month, or I wasn't going to be able to feel like a success. And in reality, when you get more wise and you start trading for a longer time, you really realize that that is totally unrealistic, first of all. It's not like it's not possible, but your account size has to be able to be enough for that. If you have one funded account, if you have one $5,000 personal account, or if you have these small accounts where 1% is not even close to 10,000, then you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You're just doing too much. I had a student yesterday who messaged me, really, really heartbreaking message. He was telling me how he feels like this stuff's impossible. None of his family believes in him. He's trying to basically retire his family. He's a young guy, but I think he just started not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. I can't remember exactly. But he's telling me all these things, right? I feel like a failure. I'm not getting there quick enough. I don't want to work a job, but even if I have to, I still don't want to do it. I just want to do this. And, he wants to make $5,000 a month. He wants to, buy all these cars and do all this stuff. And I'm sitting there just thinking I remember when I was like that, and I know that that's what this industry puts in your head to sell you things. and most of the people that are selling things can't even do what I just did today and yesterday, aside from everything else. But we have this like unrealistic thought process. The reason that I am very, very aggressive with the 20 to 30 points, and I'm very aggressive with a lot of the psychological things that I mentioned, and I'm very constant with it, is because when you have the wrong mindset that's by default placed in you, it makes trading harder than it needs to be. Think about this, 20 to 30 points, right? Capturing 20 to 30 points on a daily basis. Not that you will catch it on a daily basis. You can. The opportunity's there, which I show every day. But catching 20 to 30 points, if you compare that to trying to force yourself to aim for hundreds of points a day, $20,000, $30,000 a week, a month, versus $200 to $500 a day, right? Which equates to a pretty large amount. Like, do you see like the difference in those goals and how one is probably, or for surely, a lot easier to attain when it comes to being profitable than the other, right? Especially if you're new and you don't have enough capital, whether it's through funded accounts or in a personal account. Do you see how that can make you kind of have an unrealistic expectation? How it can actually be detrimental when you can literally just go with the easier route, like at 20 to 30 points. Like, it's so much easier to do what I just mentioned. And what I just showed, 20 to 30 points. I didn't capture 20 points right there. I captured 43 points. That's a little bit more. And look what was offered. Like I said, it's likely to still blow that high out. I have a procedure, right? When price runs to a level, gets close to a level, within a couple handles, I'm going to take profit based on what ICT has taught, right? So you could, just going back to what I was just saying, you can imagine that a lot of times these students that have these mental issues, right, or mental barriers that they're putting against themselves, like, oh, I need to, have these massive goals accomplished or I'm not going to succeed. You can imagine how detrimental that is. But how much easier you can make it if you just make a simple adjustment to your goals. You want to have a good mentor that's willing to say this stuff to you. Maybe this isn't going to sell courses and get everybody to join my private group, which I don't want everyone to join it anyway. Those of you that are serious, I do encourage you to, because I mean, it's undeniable what we do. But at the same time, you got to have a good mentor that's going to tell you the reality. That's not going to make you think about Lambos every 5 minutes. Okay, I can very easily do that type of marketing. Like, the things that I show publicly for free is better than majority of people on social media. And I say that because I have proven it. I prove it. I did it yesterday. I did it today. I've done it for the last 3.5 years publicly with privately with my private group. I've had hundreds of students that have come to me for help, both in the private group and outside of it. Some don't want to be a part of the group. They just want to be on Zoom with me, and they want that type of experience. They're not really interested in being with the community. It's too distracting, all these types of things. So, but I've had all these people come to me, and I've been able to help them, and I've given them the same advice. Some succeed, some don't. But it's important to have a mentor that, for one, does it and doesn't sell you this dream. And the reason I'm even spending time mentioning this is because yesterday, again, the heartbreaking stories that I hear all the time that are literally rooted in the fact that they have been guided the wrong way is very unfortunate. And, it's part of the reason why I started a private group, why I started coming out and posting on social media about what I do. I never really wanted to do this publicly. I wanted to just do trading and just live my life and be out of the way. And I probably will do that at some point, because, it's a lot of work, right? But I really enjoy helping people and making it so those experiences that were shared with me yesterday can either be completely stopped in its tracks or just completely avoided in general, right? By just giving the right advice. And honestly, the amount of students that I've worked with that have become successful, sometimes they find more trades than I do. A lot of times we're finding the same exact trades, but the amount of success stories, the amount of assistance that I've seen, what it is that I do have, right? Or like the impact that it's had, it's made me really want to do this as much as I do now, right? Like this year, I wasn't really public on YouTube a lot for the last 3.5 years. I was private. I posted some stuff here and there on social media. Some people saw the value and they came to me and, they benefited from it. But this year, because of last year's amount of messages that I got with people struggling and me remembering how I used to struggle and me knowing that I do have answers to most of the problems that people deal with, which is proven by the students I've helped and how they're succeeding, it made me really apply pressure to this. We're in an industry that is absolutely phenomenal. Look at what's happening, by the way. Just going back to what we were talking about. Bias and narrative was correct again. Execution was precise again. Like I said, it's just amazing. If some of you guys got in and are holding it, good job, right? But again, I have my goals and it is what it is. But, after all these years, especially last year and then some of the stuff this year, I started really applying pressure to this stuff and just seeing the benefit it has, seeing people's lives change, the way that they view trading change at a minimum. It's just something that I really enjoy. And I'm grateful to try to play my part in trying to create solutions and maybe even save people. Like I said the other day, over 2,000 people invested in crypto literally were reported to have committed suicide because crypto liquidated like $100 billion or something and it made a huge drop. That's an insanely unguided group of people. And it's very sad. This has the highest suicide rate out of every single profession. It's up there with, some of the craziest jobs, right? Or craziest professions, the highest stress professions. It's one of the top. Okay. And all of that comes from the wrong guidance, the wrong mindset, thinking that they got to succeed tomorrow or retire their family in 2 weeks or, they're not going to be a success. Maybe some students don't ever get to that millions and millions and millions of dollars mark. Can you ask yourself, would you still feel like a success? Even if the only thing you achieved was the fact that you personally don't got to work? It's unlimited, right? You could scale this to anything you want, but you just have to have more money so you can manage risk properly, right? And then do it safely. Do it like a professional does, like Warren Buffett, who, by the way, only makes 18 to 24% on any given year, entirely annually. And these, the same people that I was just mentioning with the wrong mindset, they're the same people that are trying to target 10, 20, 30% a day. They're trying to double their account in 2 weeks. It's not realistic. Focus on accumulating capital or accumulating enough funded accounts that you can stack together to risk less than you need to risk. You know what I mean? On funded accounts, you should be risking like 0.3% of your whole account. Okay? Like you should not be like 0.3 is like less than 1%, right? So if you have $100 as 1%, you should be risking anywhere from $30 to $40, if just like to make the math easy and show you kind of like the right perspective, right? You don't want to fall into this category of people that are unguided, improperly guided, because it's not only putting you at risk for your account to be blown, for you to be disappointed, but you have no idea how over time, if this takes longer than you had hoped, you have no idea the impact it's going to have on you, your health, your mindset. This isn't to scare you. This is to guide you properly, because no one talks about this, and then after I saw 2,000 people reportedly committed suicide, that just hit me in the soul, because I'm like, I remember when I used to feel and think the wrong way, and to that extent, I remember. And thankfully, God put people in front of me that were able to steer me the right way mentally. Because I was going through so much stuff when I first started trading. Like, it was horrible. I've been homeless in my life before. I had so much stress at that time when I first started. And all I was trying to do was be a trader. From COVID to failed relationship, while I was a new father, all this chaos. I lost my job at the time, so I was pretty much broke, only living off my savings. I liquidated my whole entire savings I had at that time to invest in trying to be a trader, both in education and then also in, just putting money into an account when I wasn't ready. And the darkness that was felt at that time was absolutely incredible. But whose fault was that? Was it the market's fault? Was it the mentor who was teaching me? Was it his fault? Was it anyone else's fault except my own? Well, you can kind of blame someone else, like with the guidance and whatnot. But I made the decision to do that, unrealistically thinking that, something is easy, right? Especially in a financial market or investing, thinking that things are going to be get rich quick. It's completely ass backwards, and it's very important to have, like I said, a mentor that can put you mentally in the right place, because you have no idea what you'll feel like if you did something stupid, just thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get it this time. And you put all your money into one account or all your money into funded accounts, and now you're broke, and you don't have anything to fall back on. Yeah, and then you lose it all. You have no idea what that would do to your head. Maybe some of you guys have experienced that, or something similar to that or close to it, and now, hopefully looking back and given what I've just mentioned, you realize that was a totally wrong thing to do, and you should never do that again. Never risk more than you're willing to lose. But you're in a place here where what we do works. You're in a space with ICT concepts that's provably effective. So there's no thinking about like, oh, is it gonna, like, does it work? Does it not work? No, it does work. Okay, the question is, are you being taught by someone that knows what they're doing? Okay, are you being taught the right mindset? Are you realizing the realities of trading? So then you can properly build a trading plan and properly engage this like the business it is, with the seriousness it deserves. You don't want to fall into the mindset like those unfortunate people had or have continuously. It's probably something happening to someone every day because of trading, and it's because of the wrong mindset. People fail because of the mindset, let alone make irrational, crazy decisions like taking their own life. All of it surrounds the bubble of poor mentorship, right? Or a lack thereof any, right? Of no mentorship. Like they have none at all. They're just looking at Joe Schmo on Forex Factory who's talking about, some crap in their stupid forum. None of them know what the hell's going on, by the way. 90% of people don't know what the hell's going on. You're in the 10% of people right now when you're learning ICT concepts. Out of the millions and millions of people that are traders, out of the millions of concepts, ICT concepts are very, very a small niche group of investors. And a small percentage of those people, even though this stuff works, because they're listening to dumbasses on social media, that there's a small group within that small group that are able to succeed. And a lot of that comes from having the wrong guidance, right? Just not having the right mindset, having absolutely ridiculous expectations that are unrealistic, have always been unrealistic, but are pushed on the masses so they can sell you some stupid ass course that doesn't work, that they can't do live. I just literally did this publicly live again. I do it every day in my private group. And a lot of them are here right now. Mike is part of it. I'm Reckless. It's my little brother. He's part of it. Matthew's part of it. Byron's part of it. Right? So, what I was saying, if it was a lie, I'd be getting called out. If I was not doing what I'm claiming to do here on social media, on YouTube, I'd be called a liar. It'd be easy to call me out. I would fall on my face every single time I go on live, just like ICT says when he goes live and people are doubting him. I would fall on my face. It'd be completely wrong. It'd make no sense. There'd be no rhyme or reason as far as why things work the way that they do. So we're in our small corner of the internet, right? But we're absolutely punching well above our weight in relation to how big our community is. And yes, our community, because you guys are just as much of an asset to this community as I am. It's a community we're trying to build to help, not to be egotistical, not to sell millionaire dreams, even though that's a good dream to have and it's totally attainable. But it comes with time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You want to have the right mindset. And you want to make sure that you're not listening to idiots and you're taking good advice. You're open to taking good advice, and you don't fight reality, because it's just so, your success is so dependent on whether you have the right mindset or not. Like, you have no idea. Most people have no idea. Most of you guys probably do, because I talk about this all the time with you. But most people have no idea how impactful it is to have the right mindset, to have someone in your ear constantly reminding you, whether it's ICT or someone like me or whoever else is out here that's telling the reality. Like, people have no idea how important that is. You could learn everything. You could be a library of ICT concepts and never succeed. 10 years later, you'll look back because you held on to the wrong mindset and just think, damn, why couldn't I succeed? Why can't I succeed? What is wrong? Yet you're the same person's over trading, over leveraging, trying to make $10,000 in 2 days, every single time. Never sat back and back tested, never did any of the stuff that they were told to do. And then, years will pass. So you want to make sure you do the right things and are around the right people. Keep your sphere of influence tiny. I say this all the time. I spend a lot of time on it because it's that important. And again, it weeds people out. The people that aren't patient, the ones that want executions, which I literally just gave, I always talk about and point to. You start to figure out how I call things. I don't put you in trades because I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you trade advice. So you have to make those decisions. I just say where price is going to go, what I think about price, and you do what you will with that information. I'm not telling you to trade. I'm not telling you not to trade. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm telling you to watch and study and see if there's something here you can use, right? But nonetheless, the stuff works. We have the right mindset over here, okay? I will not steer you guys wrong. I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass. I'm not here to be egotistical. I'm not here to, try to be like any of these people on social media. I'm me, and this community is going to be this community. It's going to be unlike anyone else, anything else. And we're ICT purists. We always give credit where it's due. ICT is obviously someone that needs to have the credit, But my success, just like your success, when you get your success, it's your accomplishment. It's you take responsibility for that. It's no one else's responsibility. If I teach you to do something and I've helped you learn, or ICT teaches you to do something and he helped you learn, that doesn't mean that all of your success is because of them. It's a huge part because of them, right? Because they give you the advice. They're telling you how to do things. You take on the risk. So when you celebrate for you. You take that accountability and responsibility because you're taking the risk, you're taking and dealing with the losses, and you're also going to be able to, sit and celebrate the wins because you did it. So it's your success. I'm just here grateful to be able to share my advice and then hopefully help as many people as I possibly can find their way. Just like ICT has helped hundreds of thousands, if not more, like millions of people at this point, at least find clarity. And then once they find clarity, they can walk along the rest of the way. And we keep that same vibe here, and that's all it is. He's a conduit to pass information, and then you do what you will with it. I'm there to also somewhat be, that external conduit. In some cases, some people just listen to what I say because I'm a purist with ICT. I don't change anything that he's talking about. Okay, like it's all the same. I use what I use within his concepts. I don't use all of it, but my system, what I've created based on what he's taught, the tools that I took from him to create my own, it is my own. As ICT encourages us to acknowledge, he himself has said that. So that's why I'm just relaying the message to you guys too. So when you get to that point and you have a model that you use, and maybe you use some tools from me and some from ICT, or anyone else that's a purist, you can rest assured that what you create is yours. It's special to you, and it's very important to realize these things. Because some people that don't realize this, that don't accept this, even though ICT has told us that this is the reality, they can't enjoy their success as much as they could. They still think that it's because of someone else. Sometimes that's a hindrance. It's not for me, right? I sit here all the time and say, man, ICT blessed my whole entire life, him and God, and then he kind of pushed the idea that no, you need to stop saying that, he's responsible for your success or for my success. Start taking accountability for it. He's really said that a lot. So it took a while for me to transition that mindset. But I'm trying to, kind of share that with you guys, because it's something I've learned over the years with wisdom, and some of the stuff that has definitely went overlooked in his lectures in relation to success and failure, right? Your failure is your fault, right? If you fail at things, it's your fault. You take a loss, it's your fault. It's not ICT's fault. It's not my fault, right? That's why I don't give signals. So I take that ability to blame away, right? That's why I don't do these signal services and all this. I do hint at things. So those of you that are smart, or not smart, but diligent, right? And you're paying attention to how things are delivered and what I'm teaching you and what ICT teaches you, you get the hint, and then again, you're able to walk on your own. And it's much more meaningful that way. One of my students, Maddie, actually had that experience yesterday, which I'm super excited that he had. And it was amazing. Just the way that you light up when that type of circumstance takes place, where you see things being talked about, but then you're putting your view on it, and then that agrees with the person teaching you, and then you see it play out, but the person teaching you didn't tell you about it, didn't tell you to get in. You chose to make that decision. So it feels like you found it, and you did. You found it in that instance. So it's much more meaningful, and it means so much. It's so much more exciting, and it's in your hands at that point. So it's much more meaningful. And again, it's just like the best way to learn. The way that we do things on this YouTube channel, the way ICT teaches, right? The way that he doesn't give signals and, doesn't allow certain things to take place. This is just the best way to learn. And ICT is not going to be live all the time. He's still not live all the time. He's making new videos, but once you know what you're doing, you're not going to need more videos, But he's not going live all the time. I am. There's a couple other students from his charter community that are phenomenal. That also go live consistently, right? So there are good people still in the industry, but you want to be careful with who you listen to. And I'm grateful that you guys are here listening to what I have to say. I hope that it's been helpful. I hope that today's been helpful. Some of this mindset talk. I hope a lot of you guys value it, because again, this type of stuff is what weeds people out. A lot of people don't want to listen to it unless I'm giving an entry, and those people can leave, okay? Because they're not going to get value here. I wish they would stay. I wish they would open their mindset to the realities of things, because I want to help everybody. But I've learned over the last 3.5 years, over 200 plus students that I've engaged with, 100 of them at least, in terms of a long-term relationship with me being a mentor. I've learned that you can't save everybody, and it used to upset me a lot that I couldn't help certain people, and they'd be frustrated and I wouldn't be able to get them over the hump, because I literally do this publicly to help people, because I could not be doing this and just doing what I do, keeping to myself. But I really enjoy it, and it means a lot. When I see progress taking place, it just lets me relive what happened when I first started. Like yesterday when Maddie lit up, right? When Matthew was talking about the experience he had yesterday, and today too. Hopefully he got that experience today too, because we literally did something very similar. But there's something about that when I see students have that experience, because this means so much to me. And I remember when it first clicked for me and how I felt. And I appreciate the ability to be able to relive those moments through you guys, And I don't know, that's just one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing this, and why you can trust that what I try to do, what I try to communicate, the things that I share with you, it's from a place of sincerity, and I really want to see you guys succeed. Whether you're just here with me on YouTube and just experiencing things in this way, or if you have the means to, or the means and the interest to be working with me on a more intimate level by joining the apprenticeship group. I want both communities to be able to thrive, and some need more help than others, right? The private group's not for everybody. You better be ready to come and work, and really take this serious, if you're going to take that step, I don't encourage everybody to just join just because. If you do like the live streams and all that, you can get more, right? There's one tier specifically for those students that just want live streams, no access to our recorded calls or no access to me on one-on-one basis, because I have to obviously reserve that, for students in the other tiers that are more, needing of that type of relationship. But regardless, just know that, hopefully you guys know that what I do here is sincere. You only need to spend like a week or two watching what I do live on YouTube to know that, there's something here, and this guy's absolutely smacking the shit out the market every day. Okay? A lot of people can say that, but they don't have reasons to say that. They just say it to sound, pompous or whatever. And here we prove it. So it's a matter of reality that this is just the way it is. So, and eventually you guys will be able to start saying that too. Maybe you won't approach it that way, but maybe those students are a little bit better than me. I'm not necessarily a braggadocious person, but people want to see that their mentor is confident in what they do. They want to see them publicly doing it. They want to see that what they're listening to, what they're spending time on is worthy. Otherwise, what's the point in watching anyone other than ICT, right? He has videos, right? So especially in this space, because there's so many frauds in this like niche as an ICT trader, your bar is set really high. And if you can't come out here and publicly at least call the market at a minimum where it's going to go, like if there's someone you're watching that doesn't even call the market, like they don't do anything like this, they're not worth listening to. If they just do pre-recorded videos, there's more than enough people that are actually out here like me in this community that are physically showing you what's going on. So no reason to waste your time on, people that are not going that extra mile to prove to you in an industry that's full of scammers that they're not a scammer, that they do in fact have something of value to listen to. If they can't prove it, do not waste your time, beautiful people, please. And I hope you guys feel like you don't ever waste time when you're on these calls. Every call there's something new to learn. Every call there's experience that's being given to you, that's being lent out to you. Whether I'm in a position where I feel the market is a bit skeptical, it's a bit shaky, right? Today we had to wait a little bit. It was a little chaotic. We had an assumption of what price was going to do, and we figured it was going to do this. We never switched our bias from bullish to bearish. We never did. And hopefully you guys understand why that was, right? I mean, the entries, I talked about an early opportunity that is within the realm of a model that I've been sharing with my private group. And then I talked about the normal breaker, right? Traditional one. Both offered an opportunity. And we blew out this high. And we kept our eyes on this high the entire time. Just because it did this, it did not fake us out. This right here was like Stephen Curry trying to do like his little boom, boom, his little crossover move real quick. Right? They did a crossover here, misdirection, and went the other way. Yeah, well, we were on the ball the whole time, and your little misdirection market didn't really do much. Okay? So you can sit down and give me my money. Give us our money. Okay? Or, whatever else is being achieved. Right? And yeah, this happened fairly early, so we still got time. There's still time in the session. So we'll talk about some stuff up until the end. For the next 40 minutes. We'll see if the next macro can offer something. But again, I hope that you guys got value from some of the things I mentioned a minute ago. And yeah, it's not always just about executions, right? It's what leads to the execution. It's the mindset behind the execution. It's what the successful mindset looks like as a trader. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I made 2 mistakes yesterday. I got out too early. And I did that with my private group. I went through the mindset. We had a dialogue about it. And, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. But does that mean that what you're learning doesn't work? No. You have to learn how to manage that stuff, right? And being with a good mentor is a way to do that. Let me see. Mike said, great session. This is getting stupidly easy. And the model is fire. Damn right, bro. I'm glad you think that, Mike. You only been with me for like, what, less than 6 months? I think you started here too on YouTube, I think, if I'm not mistaken. How would you say the decision was, right? Like to join the private apprenticeship group. Do you think that was a good decision you made? Because I do believe you started with me on YouTube and then you saw what we do, and you felt it was a good thing to join the private group. But yeah, would you say that decision was a good decision? All of you guys that are in the private group, if you guys can, or that are here, obviously, if you can give me your opinion on that, or maybe kind of share some of your opinion and your experience that you've had so far with some that are here on YouTube that may be on the fence, or maybe thinking about it but just want some like real world testimony as far as whether it's a good decision or not. Yeah, just definitely let me know your thoughts in the chat when you guys get a chance, for sure. Let me see. Mindset comes with it. Matthew, look what model set up. Yeah, the breaker set up. Can you imagine having a job and trading? You can pay some sort of, yeah. Yeah, if you have like a job, I talk about this a lot too. If you guys have like a job that you like, that doesn't bother you, that isn't too hard, and there's really no reason for you to quit. It doesn't like make you miserable. You might as well keep it for a little while. There's nothing wrong with that. Healthcare is cheaper, right? Also, right? There is benefits to it, and taxes are looked at a little bit easier, or like it's a little bit lighter handed tax situation from what I've been able to understand. When you're trading with a job, apparently there's a little bit easier tax treatment. Doesn't mean you don't pay taxes, right? There's ways to not pay taxes on trading through like a Roth IRA, a retirement account, or an entity like S Corps and LLC. Maybe we could talk about that later at some point, but there's ways to position things. But yeah, if you have a job that you like, and you can cut your hours while still keeping your benefits and whatnot, but opening your schedule a little bit more to be able to trade further, that's definitely something to think about. And have a goal of completely replacing it entirely. Maybe if you are sincerely set on, not having a job, which it's definitely a goal of everybody, right? But when it comes to healthcare and certain things, there's some stuff that you do want to consider before you make that leap. If you're in America, self-employment, healthcare, when you have just like a business income, it can be pretty crazy. Entities make it a little bit easier, so there's ways to make it so it's very much worth not having a job, because you can write it off, right? You could do a bunch of write-offs, but you're still gonna have to pay like double, sometimes triple the amount you would if you had just like a part-time job you do 2-3 times a week. That can give you the benefits, so yeah, that's obviously to each his own. Everybody has their own circumstances and goals, but don't feel bad if you work, because again, this goes back to what this kid said to me the other day. He was disappointed that he has a job. He feels like a failure. All his friends say that he can't do it. All these things. This is another example too, also, of not inviting people, right? Don't invite people in if you're just learning. Nobody understands. They may understand, oh, you just made, some money or whatever, and you show them the platform and show the money was made. But then when you take a loss, if they find out, they can be like, what the hell? Because their mindset, they don't understand it. They don't get it. Their mindset around money is completely different than what it is inside of the mind of a trader. We're using money to make more money. That's what we're trying to do. And sometimes that's going to come with losing money sometimes. But does that mean anything at all? to someone else that's outside of the industry that doesn't know anything about investing, that feels like it's a gamble, they're going to think that it's the whole entire world falling on them if they lose $100, when they would have taken that $100 and bought dinner or something, or wasted it on something. But putting things in the market or losing money in the market here and there is like the end of the world. It shows you the disconnect, so it's just a totally different world. But yeah, you want to make sure you definitely think about these things down the road, and don't be upset about a job. Don't think that, don't put unrealistic expectations. You got to do what you got to do to pay your bills while you're learning. You should look at things like a job while you're learning as an asset. It's funding your dream. It's funding your pathway to achieving what you're trying to achieve. And it's even better if that job you have is not overwhelmingly stressful. Like if you work a job that's crushing you every day, I mean, it's probably best to try to find something that is less destructive, because you want to have your mindset not overwhelmingly destroyed, when you're trying to trade. But, sometimes you're going to have to make those adjustments. I have some students that came to me for help in the UK who he wanted to be a full-time trader. But one of them, right, he wanted to be a full-time trader, but he refused. Well, he couldn't trade when I was trading because of his job. He couldn't trade really much at all because of his job. I tried to get him to see things from a swing trading perspective. Didn't want to do that. His mindset's just, I need to make a decision, right? So he has like the fast thinking. So day traders thrive a lot with that mindset. People that are more patient, they're more swing traders. They'll be able to, make a decision and stick with it and not really be too worried about it. And they're able to hold. That's a swing trader, someone like that. But he had a job that was all bad, right? Like it was so many hours. It was every 6 days a week. And I told him, I'm like, bro, like ICT has said you may have to make some uncomfortable changes and sacrifices in your life to be able to make this work for you. And sometimes that'll mean getting a different job with maybe a little bit lower pay that offers better hours. So then you can fit it within your life. He was unwilling to do that. Many people are unwilling to do that, which is unfortunate because, if they don't have the mindset to swing trade or can't push themselves into that, you can imagine that, it'll be a problem. They won't be able to trade at all, and that's unfortunate. But trading is going to require time investment. It's going to require monetary investment. Sometimes it's going to require you to adjust your life. It's going to make you change your lifestyle. You can't be a drug addict running around doing a bunch of craziness all the time. Going out getting in trouble and, all this nonsense. You're not going to be able to have a bunch of toxic relationships and be able to trade effectively. You're going to have to, you're going to have to think about these things that are outside of trading because they will be highlighted at some point. And sometimes you're going to have to make those sacrifices. Sometimes you got to cut toxic people off. Sometimes, like I said, you're going to have to change your job to fit the schedule a little bit better. So these are things that we all have to face. Some things we have to face more than others, obviously. You're going to have to overcome yourself from the past, right? Bad habits that you may have accumulated. So there's a massive sacrifice that has to be made in all different directions. And most people don't realize it, and sometimes they realize it too late. But, there's always a solution to everything. And again, most people aren't talking about this. Right? It's just more stuff that most people on YouTube don't talk about. Unless it's ICT, because he talks about this. It's where I got all this wisdom from in many cases, aside from some of the stuff that I've discovered on my own, through my own experiences psychologically. But yeah, these are, things that you'll eventually have to think about. Hopefully you guys have thought about this type of stuff before. If not, hopefully, this kind of shows you that reading price and being a trader, it's a lot bigger, a lot more involving than what initially meets the eye. And don't take that as a discouragement for some of you, right? Well, all of you, right? Don't take this or anything I've said as a discouragement. Just take it as, this is just some stuff that you have to think about. And if there's necessary sacrifices you can make, do it. It's well worth it. You see what I do. Those of you that see me consistently do this on a regular basis, both in my private group and students like Tony here on the YouTube channel. Tony, by the way, is a student that's just been here on YouTube, and he's passed numerous funded accounts this year since his time being here on the YouTube channel. Now see, look, Tony said, once you learn what I'm showing, it's life-changing. It absolutely is. And I am stunned, honestly, by the things Tony has done. It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But remember, Tony, you got to manage the highs and lows, right? We can't get too high. We can't get too low. It's just dead in the middle, right? We're business as usual. Whether we win, it's great to celebrate a little bit, but we're dead smack in the middle. Like we're never going too high or going too low. If we lose, who cares? It's just part of the investment that we have to put into continuously improving. A good way to look at it, right? If you take losses, like when you take losses, companies have to invest in their employees, like training, right? They got to invest in their training so then they can become better. Well, every time you take a loss, you're paying something out to learn what you basically did wrong so you can improve. So you're paying for more experience, right? You're paying for more training, right? You're paying for your tuition. You're paying for, what, like a cost of doing business, right? It's, losses are just like a loan that you're giving to the market, which you're going to make interest on later. It's, you got to reframe a lot of the way that we think about certain stuff. But trading's nothing. And you always want to keep, like losing is nothing, right? And you want to make sure you're managing the highs, you're managing the lows. You notice how price went up like this, and did I get overly excited? No. What did I do? I literally took the win that we did, watched what it was doing, and what have I been talking about the last like 20, 30 minutes? Psychology, mindset, dealing with certain stuff, the sacrifices that are required, all the things that you need to think about. That then, once you have this stuff solidified, in terms of the thinking, you're able to do this type of stuff, right? And of course, technicals mean something too. Obviously, you got to be listening to people that know what the hell they're doing. But did you guys notice that? Right? Like we just had a banger trade that went over 100 plus points. I captured what I captured, right? And ran further. The next thing that I start talking about is what I've been talking about the last 20, 30 minutes. All psychology, all things that are most important. You notice how I didn't sit here and, start bragging about all this. I did mention how good we are, right? How good this community is. And just, so you know that you're not wasting your time, those of you that may be new. But hopefully you noticed that. If you didn't notice that I diverted the attention from how amazing this trade was, which it was amazing. I mean, it's kind of just what it is, right? But we went right into things that truly matter. The things that will truly mess you up if you don't pay attention to them. It's done very, very purposely. I do this pretty much every time. Every time we have a big banger move, every time some stuff works out the way that we want it to work out, if I didn't talk about psychology recently, I talk about it right as things like this take place. It's a constant reminder when you're in this community. And some people don't like that. They want me to always talk about executions, as a lot of you guys probably already know. Once we're already done talking about the executions, we got to focus on the things that truly matter. And if you're not willing to sit through conversations about these things that truly matter, execution is the least important element to your trading. It's the least. It's like the very last, like the very end of the road. You have a whole bunch of other things that need to be accumulated and understood, mastered, and skill sets that need to be sharpened before executions really mean anything at all. And even then, they still don't mean nothing at all. That's just when you're getting in. What's more important is how are you going to get out? How are you going to manage when you're in the trade? And if you lose or if you win, how are you managing your mindset? What are you going to think about? Is one win or a string of wins going to make you feel like you're on top of the world and you're never going to lose and you're going to go in there and overtrade because you don't have discipline? Right? Is a win going to lead to that? Or do you have a process thought about before you get to that point so then you can manage that? If you take a loss, are you going to think you're a failure, you're never going to succeed, this is impossible, right? Are you thinking that the world's ending because you took a loss? Or have you created a plan for when that does happen and how you're going to go about thinking about it? How are you going to console yourself when you're in that moment? Do you have community around you that understands, that is a safe place for you to express this stuff and get good, actual, real advice that's going to help you? You know, is that advice come from someone that proves that they know what's going on, that, you know, does things live? You know, all this stuff is so important. It's not all about entry. Entry, like I said, like ICT has said, it is the least important. You know, until numerous other things are understood and planned for and mastered and practiced, entries are the least important. You know, because again, that's just when you get in. The game doesn't begin until you're managing the trade. And the trade doesn't really mean much until you exit the trade, you know, with a win or a loss. Right? So, and whether you win or lose, many times is going to be determined by all the background stuff, right? Like bias and narrative, how you're managing the trade, where do you take profit, how are you going to take profit, you know, what time do you take the trade, right? What are the reasons behind the trade? Does it make sense? You know, when do you cut the trade if you're wrong, or if you feel like you're wrong? When are you wrong, right? Managing the highs and lows, like I said, you know, all these things are, you know, trading's just like a big basket of skill sets, you know, and it takes a good amount of sacrifice, like I said, and you want to be around people that can truly help you, that prove that they can help you, you know. So I hope you guys get that from this community. But yeah, so again, hopefully you guys got value from a lot of the things that we've talked about today. This entry was absolutely phenomenal. Target was absolutely phenomenal. Framework was phenomenal. Managing the trade when it was going against, or managing the trade idea framework while it was going against us, that was absolutely phenomenal. The razor model performed in there. We have a bullish breaker in there. It's a secondary entry in there. Turnaround with the razor model, we saw speed, right, as we generally anticipate is going to take place. And then of course we have the breaker in there. And order block here, right? You can see that this fair value gap held up. It's also above the regular trading hours gap. We talked about that regular trading hours gap, right? It did retrace into it. It failed to get to the full level. It did pull back into this 30-minute wick here. Let me go see. Did it just wick below it? Friggin' neck. See, I enjoyed talking to you guys so much and talking about this so much that I completely forgot about my freaking neck being totally screwed up. Oh, see, you guys mean as much to me as you guys think I mean to you. So you guys are amazing. So appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value today. Let me go check the chat real quick. Nobody has a perfect... Yeah, exactly, Tony, you're right. Losers, yep. Losing is definitely a part of the equation, 100%. You know? Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of just the way it is, right? It's just the way it is. It's one of those things that, you know, sucks. Yeah, it's annoying and whatnot, but you know, the more that you focus on why you're getting into a trade, what price is doing, the why behind it, and if you're around someone that understands what's going on, you know, the less impactful losses will be. You know, it's just, again, a cost of doing business. It's just the way it is. Sometimes you can't avoid it either. The hand, right? The hand that controls things in the market, like ICT says, it could step in sometimes and nothing will make sense. You know, does that call for, you know, you to panic if it goes wrong and something doesn't work? No. You know, those of you that are here constantly with me all the time, you know, let alone with ICT's concepts or his videos and his live calls and stuff that he's done in the past. I mean, you see this stuff happens over and over and over again, every day, like non-stop, all the time. So taking a loss today and worrying about it or being upset about it, the only way that should take place is if you're breaking the rules and over trading and over leveraging, right? Otherwise, there's no rational reason for you to be upset about a loss. It's like being totally mad and hating your life and hating the world and everything in it because you missed the bus stop, because the bus just took off and the next one comes in like 20 minutes, but you are absolutely obsessively angry about the damn bus leaving as if it's never going to come back. It may be frustrating. You may be late if you maybe take the bus to go to work, right? But is it not coming back? Are you not going to be able to get to your destination just because you missed one? No. And if you're following the rules, you shouldn't break your account. Just like how if you're waiting for a bus, you're not going to walk into the middle of the road and get hit by a car. You're managing risk. Okay? Like, if you manage risk properly, you're not going to have a disaster take place. And there's no reason to make it bigger than the situation bigger than it needs to be. You know, there's just no reason for it. Again, this is the mindset shift about how you look at things. You know, there's many different elements to trading that this shift in mindset needs to happen. You got to think about stuff differently. You know, and it's very helpful to be around a community like this that can help you see where that shift in mindset should take place. You know, over time you learn, obviously, especially being an ICT trader, because if you listen to the stuff that ICT teaches faithfully, you know, a lot of stuff gets slipped in, right? A lot of the mindset stuff and, you know, small little nuances here and there. You know, different drills and ways to change things about you as a trader for the better. All that stuff is, you know, it's in there. You know, it's in all the concepts, all the videos. So yeah, amazing session. Okay, do you guys have any questions before we probably wrap it up? It's about to be 8 o'clock. We got the macro coming in. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, just for the rest of the session, if DXY continues to drop. Unless we break down below this low, I am not bearish at all. It's going to have to break down, invert the fair value gap. Okay, break down below this. All right, slide through the order block. Switch below this low. That'd be one PD array, two PD array being the order block, and then a third PD array, basically breaking the low here. Notice this too. Watch if we go from this high to that low. I said the line in the sand for me to stop being bullish was the 50% of this level here. It's pretty spectacular that, you know, that was yet again something that was extremely helpful in validation. Okay, where the hell is my thing? Where the hell is it? Yeah, I don't have a slice idea where the hell it's at. But yeah, so again, so why would this 50% of this high to that low be important? Can some of you guys tell me in the chat, those of you that may know? I know you guys in my private group know. But let's see. Let's see if anyone on YouTube knows. And Denisha, appreciate you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, if you guys have any last minute questions, or if you can answer me why the 50% of this high to that low would have been important, let me know. This same thing here, holding, is going to be the same reason why this high to that low should hold. And we shouldn't break through the 50%. It's an order block, but what is an order block? Aside from like an order block, right? Yeah, BPR, exactly. Order blocks, breakers, most of this stuff, these PD arrays are balanced price ranges, right? So that's why this should have held like a building block, like a block here, right? Balanced price range. Breaks above this high. This high to that low is a balanced price range. That's why the price was so softly trading into that and rallied up. That's why when it came all the way back here, it was a balanced price range. It treated it as such and never even came close to coming down here. That's why this fair value gap was left available, because we already had trading over here, right? Bullishness right there, right? So bullishness and bearishness offered there that basically balanced this whole entire lower portion. So it never needed to come back down there if we were going to continue going higher. And you can see that it beautifully held it. Right, so same with this. High, low, higher high. Right, you could see this as a market maker buy model too. You could see this high to that low, that whole price delivery from the high, low to the high. That's a market maker buy model. You could look at it that way. And then each phase has its own. Right, this is the 10-minute. If I went to like the 5-second chart, we could see this is probably a market maker sell model. This too, run up higher to go lower, market maker sell model potentially. Maybe not so much this one. It probably would look very sloppy. But yeah, this high to that low, right? Sweeping out that low. This was probably a smart money reversal at this new week opening gap here, right? And inside of a small market maker buy model within the larger one, right? And then this decline here, this decline to the rally, consolidation, accumulation, reaccumulation, smart money reversal. Then we had our buy side of the curve too, right? Distribution aligned with some of the accumulation on the left side. So market maker buy model, very rapid repricing. So there wasn't really much of a second distribution. Really, I mean, it kind of just blasted through it. So a good rule for market maker models, if the smart money reversal and area where the first stage distribution should be, if that price leg blows through the 50% of the overall range inside the market maker model, in this case market maker buy model, you should expect that there's only going to be one distribution or one retracement that's going to lead to the run higher. Okay, that's a good rule to keep in mind. Okay. But yeah, so with that being said, it's already 8 o'clock my Pacific Standard Time. Generally, that's my cutoff. I just want to say thank you guys for hopping on. Any of you guys that are new, I am very much appreciative that you've hopped on. Hopefully you got value today. Hopefully I see you guys again, right? If this is your first call, we do this all the time. It's always the same. Some days are harder than others. We talk about the harder days, but most of the time things are very, very, very dynamic. Every single call, there's something to learn. Every Sunday, we have a weekly prep call, goes over bias and narrative, the whole process related to that. And then, of course, on days like this, when we're going through the week, when I'm live here on YouTube, we're talking about things that relate to that initial narrative, and then see if we have to continue with it or if we're going to change the opinion. Most of the time, things continue because the Sunday calls are amazingly correct all the time. If you go back and look at every Sunday call that I've talked about this year for 10 straight months, going on 11 straight months, every single month, every single week, we've had bias and narrative correct, literally. And I've recorded it. It's on my YouTube channel. You can literally go watch it, and we've been tracking it the whole entire year, which is pretty incredible, honestly. Lower time frame obviously varies from time to time because of retracements and all that, but nonetheless, sticking to that higher time frame, being correct on that monthly, weekly, daily time frame, it puts you in position to do some pretty amazing things. And again, hopefully this year has been pretty eye-opening to many of you. That's a big statement that I just made, but again, I'm going to encourage you to go prove me wrong. Right? Go look at the videos that have been posted. Prove me wrong, right? And it won't be able to be done, right? Because I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, so hopefully, today's call gave you value. Hopefully, I get to see you guys again. And if you guys did get value from the call and you're not subscribed yet, or if you haven't liked the video, definitely go ahead and do that. It helps YouTube pump this out and show that there's something worth listening to here. And if YouTube does that, if you guys help me get YouTube to do that, we can be involved with more people, change more lives, because this year's been incredible. I've had people on YouTube that have literally been able to cut their hours. Some have quit their jobs. Some are passing funded accounts every week, like Tony in the chat. And then, of course, my private group students are doing pretty phenomenal as well. So hopefully you guys here on YouTube feel that you're getting value from what it is that we do. If you guys ever have any questions, any difficulties, if you want to just run something by me, you can always DM me on Instagram. Of course, if you join the private group or want to talk about things in the free Discord, we can do that as well there. But yeah, so hopefully today was easy enough to follow along with as well. We will be live again on Sunday, this coming Sunday. So yeah, if any of you guys struggle with bias and narrative and you guys are new, just know that Sunday, every single Sunday, I'm literally talking about the whole process that I use. And we go from point A to point B. Point A to point B sometimes takes a little bit of time doing the Sunday calls because I got to break down every individual component, so they're a little bit longer. But then, of course, when we start the week on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, depending on what day I choose to have these calls on, generally it's Tuesdays. But when we hop on at those times, we fly through it. We know exactly what's going to happen within 20 minutes, right? And if we can't, then we wait and we talk about those scenarios as well. Like today, we definitely waited, but we still secured and stayed locked in to this buy-side liquidity pool, and price blew well beyond that. And we were able to participate, some down here, some entered up here, right? I'm sure that I'll have a student share with me entering up here or maybe adding to the position, because we ended up just, it basically did exactly what we wanted it to do, right? Which is generally the case. Yeah, every video is another piece to the puzzle, So again, thank you guys for your time today. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm just a DM away. Definitely check out the private group if you want more of a one-on-one style learning experience. If you want more live calls, there's also a reasonable tier for that as well, just to be on live with me regularly. So definitely check out the links in the description. And yeah, with that being said, I guess I will see you guys on Sunday. So have a good rest of your day, you guys. God bless.